the sudden agreement with Morocco on its autonomy plan. And we've had a lot of views, and people have questioned Ghana's honesty and foreign policy, especially when it comes to this issue. This is a very delicate and very sensitive and also controversial issue. But then I would want us to touch on, we cannot do this without talking about the recent visit of the Minister for Foreign Affairs to Morocco. And we heard on the back of that visit, there was the final implementation of, the waiving of visas between, taking away visas. That means that you enter Morocco, you don't need a visa. Moroccans can come to Ghana without a visa. All of us got so excited. Could that be the reason this had to be done for that to be achieved or accomplished? How does it work here? Something has to give. What did we give for that?
Okay, let me first and foremost say that in diplomacy you don't bargain. There's nothing called bargaining in a country over if it were the case of a visa in return for a like, and the like promises Ghana backing Morocco over the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic. I think it is a very shocking to me, kind of a turn or U-turn. First of all, let us acknowledge the fact that Ghana is pro-independent nation. Pro-independent in the sense that most of the countries on the continent of Africa, and especially sub-Saharan, Ghana is among or the main reason the French most especially got angry and decided to grant all the French countries, especially in the West Africa, in the year 1960, about 11 countries were declared independent because of Ghana's push and Ghana's pressure on the neighboring country. Bear in mind that the West African power brokers, Ghana, Nigeria, we are surrounded by the French, and then Nigeria also surrounded by the French. If you look at the English countries on the West African belt, that's what used to be the case. When Ghana got our independence in 1957, we had said and maintained that our independence is nothing until there's a total independence and liberation of the entire Africa. At that time, the agitation of Togo, Benin, agitation of La Côte d'Ivoire, agitation of Mali, Niger, Senegal, and then the rest of the African French, West African French, all started, and the French got angry. So between June, July, August, September, all the 11 countries in 1960, they granted them independence as Ghana's push, okay? It doesn't rest, and it did not rest there. There are a lot of countries that Ghana has supported and backed their independence agenda. Ghana, South Africa issues, we were one of the countries that was strictly against apartheid, to the extent that in the 70s, Ghana had even pushed an agenda that the Ghana passport in a protest does not even go to the South African states. What about Ghana's stand with Namibia? Whereas Ghana was against the apartheid system, it was the same energy that Ghana was against that the South African apartheid system taking and ruling over Namibia. So if you're talking about countries that Ghana push for them to gain independence, Namibia is one. What about the Mozambique? Even though it was Portuguese, and all the Portuguese countries on the African continent, that is the 5 of them, the Guinea-Bissau, the Cabo Verde, and then you're talking about Mozambique, Angola, etc. All of them, Ghana was behind, and the force and helped, supported them to gain independence. What about South Sudan in recent times? As one would have thought that it was only African side that was left for independence. Ghana was very much involved in that. So therefore, it was the same story with the Sahrawi, the Polisario Front. When Morocco, an African country, declaring them as fugitives, as refugees, as rebels and terrorists, Ghana had mentioned and maintained that they cannot do that. Are you getting me? What is the story? It was the same thing that the South African declared SWAPO, headed at that time by Sam Nujuma, as a terrorist, how do we call it, organization, leading in the end, gaining independence for Namibia. Ghana had supported SWAPO. Ghana had supported ANC. We granted even honorary passports to ANC members. Nelson Mandela, Winnie Mandela, Hugh Masekela, most of them, Maria Makeba, they all use at a point Ghana passport to travel. So this is a country that is noted for supporting any country that is pro-independence. And then look at the margin, look at the story here. The Polisario Front is an organization. Morocco herself, let's look at the historical antecedents, historical background of the Morocco. Morocco was also co-chaired by two European fronts, the France and also the Spanish. Do you understand me?
Yes.
The time that the Spain were holding part, the Gran Canaria area, which is the Las Palmas, and then the French were holding part, the Moroccan decided that our kingdom, we will not give them our kingdom. Even though they were torn in between two European bigger markets, big shots, called the France and the Spanish, Morocco did not give down. So at what point they have tasted and they know how nice it is to be independent, how nice it is to have a self-determination. So how come by Morocco at that time, when they were torn in between the two European giants, why didn't Morocco at that time fight for the Western Sahara? What country was that? Where were they? What was their destiny? Until 1956. Interestingly, Morocco and Ghana, we have only 1 year in between us. Whereas we are 6th March, they are 2nd March. They are 1956, we are 1957. Of course, Morocco, one would say that yes, it's an African country. Yes, they've tried even to join the ECOWAS at a point. The application is still there. I don't know what the ECOWAS are doing that. But notwithstanding, the ECOWAS member states of the 15 countries, none of them had gone against the Polisario or the Western Sahara. Look at the region. You made mention of Mauritania. You made mention of Algeria supporting, etc. Now, if Ghana comes with such a decision, which already I do not know, it is what's it called? What came a communique follow up with the visit, or that came out of the visit by the foreign minister. If that was what the government, and I believe in this case he works for a government, he works for a president, had communicated, instructed him, and asked him to do, then I'm looking at also the U-turn around within the same short time that Mohammed Bassett, you understand? Yes, or whatever. That we had also promised him in support or supporting him of the Polisario. Ghana, as I said, is pro-independent. So if pro-independent, then the next day we meet Nasser Bourita, and then we also assure him that we give you full support. Okay, in return for what? What is the full support for? What should they listen? On the African continent, Seychelles Island, they are not even up to 120,000. St. Helena, which is also an African country, they are not up to 5,000. Cape Verde, what's their population, etc. But the Western Sahara, they are close to 700,000, rough calculations. So if you have one tribe, one people, one destiny, are you getting me? And they are about 700,000. At what point do we say that yes, we cannot allow them, if they decide to go out or they decide to have a self-determination and then they call themselves as a country? They have also they have their president. Look at the sad story of a president of a country. It's not the only one, but there had been others currently, who is Brahma Gali, who is sitting as a refugee and living in a refugee camp in Tinduf. So what would be the Ghana situation with Algeria? That is so strongly against Morocco, Morocco strongly against Algeria. But Ghana had also been a strong supporter, a strong ally of Algeria. Very strong one. So now Algeria and Morocco, they are torn in between over this particular this particular issue with Western Sahara. They have a lot of differences. Now we go out here, we look at the face of the Western Sahara and say that yes, we are not supporting you anymore. Let's see. And then we go to Morocco and say we support the autonomous rule. B, in control and be in charge of them. What about the smaller nations in the West and the Caribbean, that some of them have even 3, 4, 5,000 population? What about the South Pacific nations, the Nauru Island and Tuvalu, where Ghana had also supported all those countries to have flag and independence? What about Fiji and Papua New Guinea? Ghana supported all the independence agenda. So where is Ghana positioned now? Those countries, Nauru Island, they are not even up to 5,000, 10,000. Are you getting me? Tuvalu, what is their population? We supported. So if we could support a country that is only 3,000, 5,000, 6,000 populated, and then against a population of about 700,000, what is the real issue? What does Morocco want from Western Sahara? What is the issue? Have Morocco even said, territorially, is it the land? Then they can also come down with Mauritania, because Mauritania had also disputed that that land is for them. You see, look at, these are all one Arab belts in that corner. The northwest of Mauritania, all of them, they speak the Hassaniya Arab. It's the same Hassaniya Arab that Western Sahara speaks. It's the same Hassaniya Arab that Moroccans also speak. And therefore, the Berber tribe that is engulfed, that is around that region, all of them, they are the same. So for whichever reason that Morocco, we do know, yes, of course, Morocco, France, and maybe to some extent United States, they are pushed. But the point is that how was it possible for African Union and for that matter United Nations to push the agenda for South Sudan to gain independence? What is wrong if the Western Sahara, they also have the independence? For me, Ghana is the Switzerland of Africa. We are one of the global, very strong, diplomatically we have a voice. Ghana speaks on the United Nations General Assembly, the UNGA, as one and always the first country on Africa to speak. So globally, we are very serious and very big player when it comes to diplomacy. So when we move out, and I'm saying that move out government, or when we move out, I'm saying that as foreign ministry or Ghana foreign policy, we should be very careful, because in diplomacy, there's nothing, in my understanding, you hardly hear yes or no. Diplomacy is in the middle. Because if we have to talk about Israeli-Palestine issue, for instance, since 1960, how many team parties, how many declarations, how many protocols, how many have they been signed? Nevertheless, it is always, we go back, we resit, we revise, we invite and come to the table. That is what we behave. And that is what a country that has played the neutrality card. Ghana is neutral in most of these issues, especially when it has to do with independence of another country. You get it,
right? I want to. I thank you so much for expatiating on history, at least taking us back, Ghana's foreign policy,
yes, how
it has always been, and what seems to have shifted things in this, period. I want to take you back to, before the former president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, left office. Just before he left office, he had severed relations with the Sahrawi. Yes. And the whole country, together with the international community, there was this huge shock or surprise. Everybody was so surprised at this particular decision by the outgoing president. This was before he had left office. However, people were of the belief that this current administration was going to be different. As soon as they came in, they were going to try to recognize Sahrawi as they have always done. And the previous administration had been heavily criticized by this current administration.
Yes.
And so I have this thing that I want to share with you, because the deputy ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee in Parliament also came out to discuss this, put this out there. I mean, how unhappy they are with the decision as it continues with this current administration. He said, under former President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, Ghana was said to have discontinued recognition of the Polisario Front and its quest for full independence for Western Sahara, instead backing Morocco's autonomy plan. Nana Asafo Adjei who is the deputy ranking member of Parliament on Foreign Affairs Committee, in a Facebook post which we actually spotted, highlighted what he describes as troubling contradictions in the current administration's position. Now, he recounted that during his vetting before the Appointments Committee, the minister right now, the Foreign Affairs Minister, openly criticized Akufo-Addo's position on Morocco's plan, and I was hoping that we would play that tape for our viewers to see. And yet, only a month after assuring the Algerian government, because then the former minister, this present minister, the Foreign Affairs Minister, visited Algeria in April.
That's what I mean.
You know, and then a few days ago he was in Morocco. So, is this this diplomatic flip-flop? Somehow, how does that, you have talked about how some of these things could affect the image and the leadership of Ghana when it comes to the international platform. Now, the question is that how do we reverse? Because I can imagine what Algeria might be feeling right now. You know, that's like a betrayal. I don't really know what that is. That's why I said this came on the back of the visa waiver agreement between Ghana and Morocco. Could something have been given for this to have happened? Who did we sacrifice?
Okay.
For what?
Let me tell you.
And the repercussions.
Okay. Let me tell you. Morocco, like Algeria, like Egypt, the North African states, Libya included, and then larger other African nations, the visa waiver, it has been there, the agreement and the protocols, since 2002.
But it wasn't implemented.
Wait a minute. In 2022, Ghana had really, don't say it was not implemented. Moroccans could travel to Ghana and take visa on arrival. But they didn't allow our side. Especially even some of us criticized that if you had Air Morocco, that is actually shuttling between Accra, Morocco, and then using Ghana also as a distributing hub, making money. How did we even go on that table allowing the airlines, the Morocco airlines, to come here and ask at that time that they were applying to be on the airspace of Ghana, in the airspace of Ghana? Ghana so allows them to travel here, but they didn't allow us. So it was not respected.
It wasn't reciprocal.
So it was not respected. So for me, if you are using the visa as a status for you to de-recognize Western Sahara, where we've supported over the years, countless numbers of years, then my question is that, how, I won't call it relevance, how many Ghanaians even go to Morocco? What do we there? What do we do out there? So you see, in diplomacy, it's not about anybody's emotion. In diplomacy, it's about practicality. In diplomacy, it's about history, historical antecedents, and historical guidance. And in diplomacy, it's about practicality.
Emotions don't matter in diplomacy.
It doesn't come in at all. So for me, I look at it in a bit confused state of as to the 80 member nations, which is the ACP, the African Caribbean Pacific, where Ghana is also a steward, a very strong voice out there. When we had, and I think Foreign Minister would take note or try to ask, if nobody at all, Madam Hannah Tete, she chaired one of this, and I was there, the Ngungi Yamapuja Declaration in 2019, and Ado Danko Akufo-Addo also spoke on the podium. That issue of Sahrawi had always been there. How come by African Union, they speak about it, they put it on the side, because it's a sensitive situation. So in diplomacy, we say they leave it as it is. We can run around it, we can juggle around it, we can, so that you don't make enemies who had been your friends and your partners for long.
Allies.
Because you're allies. Because Algeria is one of the countries that have also supported Ghana in many ways. They were one of the countries that supported Kwame Nkrumah to establish African Union at the time.
What is Morocco offering
that
Algeria is not able
that
to
is
bring
what
to the
I
table?
find it, because all of them, all the North African, even Egypt that were married to them or they were married to us, they didn't give Ghana visa waiver. Libya, they were not doing it. Morocco was not doing it. Algeria didn't do it. So I don't see any difference. Is it because now the visa waiver comes to Ghana to bargain and then de-recognize a country that we've recognized? Look, we've done this mistake before, a very huge one. In 2008, when the breakaway republics of Yugoslavia, and then the Serbia-Yugoslavia was broken, Croatia gone, and then how do we call it, Slovenia gone, and then all the republics that were divided, Albania, Kosovo, Albania, Tirana, the Kosovo, all of them. Ghana got tricked, and I'll use the word got tricked, by the United States, by the France, and then by the United Kingdom to leave Serbia and recognize Kosovo. So President Mills that had come to power in 2008, this issue of Yugoslavia, Kosovo, calling themselves as a country, what is the size of the population? Ghana under President Kufuor, they still maintain that Ghana, we know Serbia, because historically Yugoslavia then, they supported Ghana a lot during our independence struggle, post-independence, whereas a lot of Ghanaian doctors and engineers were trained in Yugoslavia. So when Yugoslavia became only Serbia as a country, still Ghana had a mission, Ghana embassy was there. Surprisingly, President Mills came in 2009, moved the Ghana embassy out from there and went to recognize Kosovo. How many African countries? Sudan, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, I can mention them. Because some of them, me sitting here, we worked it back. When Serbia started warming themselves, asking questions that these are countries that we were very nice. Ghana was one of them. How did you move? They all went to Kosovo. As we speak, in 2022, President Akufo-Addo's regime, Madam Ayoko Botwi, and the Ghana ambassador to either Vatican or Rome, they warmed themselves back. And then Ghana turned around and went to open another embassy. You don't call it returning, because we were there and we packed and left. The building even that was using, we were using at that time, embassy of Yugoslavia or Serbia in Belgrade. It was gifted and given to Ghana government. But this time around we packed. So when we are going back, we are not returning. Ghana have gone now back to Yugoslavia, that is Serbia, to open a new embassy. Look at that shift. And when they went again, Nana Addo's government also de-recognized Kosovo. Because when Ghana went to Kosovo, as promised by the powers that supported Ghana to recognize Kosovo, Albania, Kosovo as a country, we couldn't even get a mission, call it an embassy. Well, they were using let me call it an apartment. So Ghana embassy in Czech Republic has to have an oversight responsibility on Kosovo. What happened out there? We now turn around and go. So we can't be fine. We can't be seen ridiculing ourselves when it comes to policy. Something we are not sure about. Ghana has to be very careful, because for us, it's one of the countries of the world on the African map, on the African space, on the African continent, that the Western and the world listen to us so much. So when we are moving and then taking any steps, especially recognizing, de-recognizing certain countries or the other one, it's just like an African country recognizing Boko Haram. Or African countries saying that we support Boko Haram against Nigeria, or support Nigeria. We don't. In diplomacy, keep in the middle if you are not sure of what you are doing, and then walk around it, talk around it. You can only contribute. You don't take decisions. And for me, this one, I think is a bad taste. But as I said, it will not certainly also be the minister. We can't fault, we can't blame the minister. Certainly, he worked on instructions. But then also...
Whose instructions?
Instructions of the government. On the government. He works for a government. He's a foreign minister for a government before you make a step. And then even one biggest mistake, let me put it out there. When there are two feuding factions, we know that Morocco, they and Algeria, they have issues, serious ones. At no given point, unless, even when you meet at UN or you meet on the corridors of African Union Congress, special sessions, you have to have a way. Are you getting me, Harriet? That you walk around them. You can't visit Algeria because you know the issue of Western Sahara will come up. You can't visit Algeria, then you cross the border and go to Morocco. It's not done. That the timing was also what got the minister also into that kind of a fix. So I think that if even he has allowed time and the relevance, I would say that what was the minister? What did he go to do in Algeria? Yes, nothing stopped. He's announcing his presence or meeting his colleagues, meeting Bourita or meeting Mohamed Besset. It could be the reason, but then isn't the timing too dangerous? It's the timing that got him in the fix, because you wouldn't leave Algeria, whereas you have the foreign minister and you call him a brother, you were nice with him, gave him a hug, Then the brother hug you gave to Algerian foreign minister. Then you went out there and meet Nasser Bourita and also call him my good brother and give him a hug. So what would you be saying? You'll be making mistakes.
But Farouk, diplomacy is also about interest.
It's about interest. The interest is there, but the interest must be guided by a certain principle of historical background. The interest must also be guided by how the country, the stand. If any country, let me use the word, if any country, if it is Guinea-Bissau that spoke, if it is, let's say, South Sudan that spoke, if it is any country, I'm not disrespecting any nation, but any country in Africa, if they spoken on this particular issue, it wouldn't be an issue. The world would not even notice. But a Ghana foreign minister that goes out there and de-recognize and recognize a certain conflict, that United Nations as a body, they've not been able to deal with the issue. You said that they settled. They didn't settle anything. UN always talk about it. They broke a peace. What does the peace mean? Morocco is also what? Unilaterally taking over. Where is the UN? Are they not aware that a certain country's president is sitting in Tindouf in a refugee camp ruling a country? It only happens, and it's only happening in the same thing like the West Papua, whereas the president of the West Papua is being hosted in UK. Are you getting me? By the British government. He cannot go to his country, and then Indonesia is also not allowing him in, even to bypass and go to his country. These are some of the things. But UK is not even making any big deal out of that. They are holding and treading cautiously over that issue, because what we're talking about diplomacy here. So when it has to do with two countries, two fashions, especially this is an Asian issue. It is not the Western Sahara or the Polisario Front or the Sahrawi. It is not yesterday that they raised arms. There had been an existing history, a story over 60 years. So when you want to go into that, or you want to go into that space of an issue, you carefully, cautiously make sure that you will not hurt in any case. So now, Ghana, Algeria. When Ghana foreign minister meets Algerian foreign minister, how would the brotherly love, how would the friendly hug, will it be repeated? Will it be the same like it was before? Because you can't leave my corridor, have a good handshake, and then went to the other corridor, and then you understand, gave me the hope that, okay, we'll make sure and that everything is sorted. You went out there and said, no, I'll support you to do X, Y, Z. But they are hosting the refugees, they are hosting the Tifariti. The Tifariti city that is being used as the place where the government and the seat of the Polisario Front, the Tindouf, is in Nigeria. Raboni it's also where they are all administering the country from, their country from. So we have to be a bit. This is a brotherly. They are brothers. At the end of the day, they are using their currency. Part of the country, Western Sahara, is using the Moroccan dinar, and then the others are also using Algerian currency. You don't go into such matters if we don't have solutions. Let's keep. At the end of the day, we are not supporting army to Morocco to go and fight. We are not supporting financially to go and fight. We are not giving logistics to go and fight. We are only giving what is called a diplomatic math. Why do we have to change position?
Okay, why do we have to change position? Why the shift in our foreign policy? That's a very I don't know, but this is a very sensitive issue, if you ask me. Hopefully, Farouk, now before we wrap up on this particular issue, let me ask you, what do you think is the best way to resolve some of these, problem when it comes to separation with another African country, the politics on the African continent? Because I do know that sports is one key tool, effective way of resolving some of these issues. I want to know, because Morocco will be hosting the Women's AFCON in July.
Yes.
And the Nations Men's Cup also in December.
Yes.
Now, looking at the fact that they have, been given this particular assignment, could we use, is that something that we can do by using sports to somehow bridge this, hatred, or I don't know if that's the right word,
okay,
but to bring nations together?
Well, sports had breached a lot of gaps, undoubtedly. That one we must admit. Notwithstanding, it could help also little, to some extent, in certain scenarios. Morocco and then Algeria case in perspective. There had been instances where Algeria club, Morocco club, in African Championship, they decided not to go because of the impasse. They also decided not to go because of the impasse. Now the catch here is that Morocco hosting any African Nations Cup, either women or men or children or whatever, are they expecting that Algeria will participate? Will they allow Algerian contingent to come there? So in the face of what? Security, Algeria will boycott because they are not sure whether the state security of Morocco will withdraw or they lapsed the security for them. These are things that have happened. Okay. I'm not saying that they will do it in their face, in sportsmanship. They wouldn't do that. But then it puts a kind of a fear. Either we should go or we should not. Sports are trying to break. Yeah, because when they go to the CAF, if it's about football, for instance, whatever sports, these are some of the issues that are thrown on the table for discussions that give me guarantee that long as I'm a participant of this particular tournament, I'm coming to your territory, government to government have a problem, but it doesn't affect the sportsmen and women. So give me the guarantee. In most cases, that is it. But notwithstanding, when the countries have taken entrenched position, they decide that we will boycott for the international community to ask, why didn't Morocco or why didn't Algeria participate in that tournament? Then that brings about all these kind of things. So you see, the African continent issue, Ghana, for instance, something most Ghanaians do not know. Till today, we didn't have and we do not have a very flexible diplomatic relations with a country called Cameroon, because there had been a rift between Paul Aidjo and Kwame Nkrumah at the OAU during those times, when the French countries, they have to go to Paris and they have to come with their secretaries to Addis Ababa, and Nkrumah was on the podium opening the summit. Haile Selassie and all of them were sitting there. That was when Paul Aidjo was coming. It was late, so Nkrumah somehow didn't speak to him well. That severed till today Ghana not having a mission in Cameroon. Our friendship got developed over football, precisely, I would say, because I know a Ghanaian player called Kofi Abre, Abedi Pele didn't feature in Cameroon, but Cameroonians saw him as one. They were the people that bridged these two countries. Football. Kofi Abre, most especially, was playing in the Tonai club of Yaoundé. Abedi goes there. He's a French player with Cameroonian players in France. So they relax a kind of, the enemy stance between the two countries. So sports to some extent, it does help. But generally, the African biggest problem is that we still have our colonial masters. But the surprising where I expected my brother, my good friend, Samuel, is that conflict between these two countries, France and then Spain, how come by these two countries that created confusion within that region? None of them is speaking. So we're from Ghana to go in there and then start to mess up. No, we should not. We shouldn't, because even France is not talking over this issue. Neither Spain has contributed. They are sitting there looking at them doing what. So let us also sit and look. Yes, of course, we are contributing, but contribute with words. Don't go and then inflame any passions, which will go against long way to go against us. You understand?
Sure. Now, for the sake of time, we will leave this here. I believe time would permit us again for you to share your expertise on this subject again. Now, let's talk about China.
Yes.
China's foreign policy with regards to Africa.
Yes.
It's continues to get very interesting and
attractive.
And attractive, extremely attractive, extremely attractive. Now, here's this one. This is the latest. You know, the FOCAC was recently held, organized, of course, an initiation by the Chinese government to have the ears of the African leaders and see how best they could use that platform to enhance or foster relations with the African continent. Ghana has secured a historic 0% tariff concession on all of its exports to China, following high-level bilateral discussions between Ghana's Foreign Minister Samuel Kujetu-Ablakwa and his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi. Now, the groundbreaking development marks a historic milestone in Ghana-China relations and expected to deepen trade, boost industrialization, and also create jobs for Ghanaians. The initiative has also been extended to other African countries, leveling the playing field by also offering middle-income ones similar market access. I think the term is least developed countries. So this sounds very exciting and interesting at the hearing of any ordinary person like myself. I begin to look at, oh wow, this is great for us as a country or a continent, because this might finally create that kind of a level playing field. But again, the question I ask myself, because of where I find myself, is amidst all the excitement, I ask myself, how is this beneficial to Africa? Because how much do we even produce and export when it comes to China? And they talk, the underlying word is quality goods or products. Now, quality here is very important. Do we even have what it takes to actually compete with China? Over to you.
Well, you see, these are what is called international politics. There is not much of a diplomacy. This is international politics at its best. Now, as you rightly said, that what do we export to China? China, they buy our raw materials. I'm yet to see a Ghanaian artisan who manufacture or who produce a chair, a sofa, a bed that he is taking to China to go and sell. If it's about these artifacts, some of these are our what is the name? Art center products that the Chinese, we call it the cultural traditional woodworks, that Chinese will be fascinated to buy from them. We are even buying and importing, how do we call it, towel from China. So a country like China, what at all can we export to them? Our raw materials, they are the one already mining our raw materials for us with a high tech. They are the same people giving us credit line, facility, grants, aid, loan. Are you getting me? So therefore, if they grant us and give us a zero tariff, yes, one would say it on paper, bingo, it's very nice. But then practicality, in practical sense, let me ask, close your eyes and open it. What do Ghanaians sell out there to China? Now, where can China or Ghana can take advantage, or the African countries can take advantage? I'll come out with foodstuffs. For instance, food produce. We have pineapple. Pineapple from Ghana is one of the best, sweetest, juicy. We were sending to Europe. For whichever reason, European countries, they have their farms. In Latin America, European farmers are having farms in Mexico, and all this, Colombia, Peru, name them. So they rather bring their pineapple from there, because the European company having the farm out there. So they stopped ours that was going. But without mentioning him, there's a European country that still export Ghana pineapple to France, to everywhere in Europe, in a juice form and sell. Now, China saying that zero tariffs, I'll rather push the minister two things that he should have pushed, which I think he left out. How China will open her doors to allow certain farm produce that we have them in abundance. One of them, we have mangoes, the whole Bogatanga belts. I'm talking about my country, Ghana. We have the best saloon mango. It just left being rotted. what do we have? Tomato season, our tomatoes. But rather we are buying tomatoes from China. Then what about Ghanaian oranges? We could also send orange. But then most greatly, pineapple. So if China, or we have brokered a deal, the Minister of Trade, the Minister of Foreign Affairs telling China that, look, Europeans are not accepting our pineapple, claiming that it is infested with chemical, blah, 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 which is not the case.
It's not up to standard.
It's not up to standard, they say. But when they are here, we are here with them. Their missions, the embassies, when they go to 37, the fruits there are not imported from Europe. They buy it more than us. The watermelon, they buy from us. They buy more than us. The pawpaw, everything they buy over here. So what is the difference between the one we ship out there to them, that the European Union does not allow Ghana, our vegetables and fruits to come there, but their missions, their foreign service staff,
it's probably just the processing.
You listen.
But the natural products, of course.
Listen, we are packaging and sending quite well right. We rely and import their juice. How well can we also say that some of their juice come even expired and renewed? So these are some of the things that when the level field is not
level playing field,
it is not level, then it's a kind of a cheat. So China is trying, in my view, trying to slot into the Africa already. They are giving her grants that Western Europe wouldn't do. They are giving her facility. They are giving her technological support. But notwithstanding, they have not been developing partners of African countries. They are trading and commercial partners. Our developing partner in the case like Ghana, you cannot leave Canada that have taken care with a lot of a developmental agenda since independence.
But China is Africa's biggest trading partner.
Yeah, trading partner. That we're talking about trading partner. Because trading, there is it. I'm selling. You buy. You give me money. I'm taking your mineral, collect. But we are talking about developing partners like United States of America that have supported Ghana with education budget, military budget, technology budget, and a lot of things. Denmark through the Danish aid, they've done a lot for Ghana. Our developing partner, United Kingdom, Germany is our developing partner, Japan is our developing partner, Turkey and China, Brazil and some of the emerging markets, they are all commercial trading partners of it. So if you say that yes, of course, they are the biggest trading partner of Africa, yes indeed. Tell me, if Emirates is leaving Accra, Emirates leaving Abuja, living Kano, living Lagos, Emirates living La Côte d'Ivoire, Abidjan, Emirates living Banjul, Emirates at the end of the day, one evening, all of them, they leave around 6 o'clock from every African capital. As many as 40 African countries have Emirates departing or arriving. Think of it. How many of them? About 60 to 70% of the passengers are going to Guangzhou, Beijing, or Chinese cities. How much, if average of $10,000 or $20,000 on each person? Look at the money that we take in there. And I'm asking, how many of them also do go out there? And then Chinese are also buying something from them. That is what we're talking about. So it's not about giving me
a win-win situation.
A win-win situation. If you give me zero tariff, in what? In exchange for what? What am I bringing for you to give me the zero tariff? What Chinese, if they really wanted to make us proud and laugh, you were saying that here you were excited about Morocco granted us visa-free waiver. Then I would say that a country that now, before they were not, that Ghanaians even struggle to travel to. Not just to go and live there, whichever way. If even some goes and they decide not to come, they have to deal with the immigration issue. How many Ghanaians are now that Chinese got them refused with visas, as compared to how many Chinese that gets visa to come to Ghana? That is what Honorable Okuja told. Please, just go out there and find out from the Chinese embassy how Ghanaians are being refused, how Ghanaians are being rejected. Nevertheless, they are going there not to go and live in China. If about 100%, 70% or 78 or 80%, they go out there to do business and return. Why should they struggle? Was that not the same China that was granting visas to Ghanaians? When even you go there within 20-30 minutes, they give you visa to go. And indeed, genuinely, all this is an import-oriented nation. All our things on the market come from China. So we are selling your products on our market. We are importing your products. When you go to Tema, our port or Takrady, all the major imports, about 60% come from China. Right. Why should they struggle to travel to China? That is what the Honorable Minister should have dealt with the Chinese Foreign Minister. Country by country basis. If you go out there and grant zero tariff to Zimbabwe, or zero tariff to South Sudan, to zero tariff to, let's say, Botswana,
economic dynamics are different. So
economic dynamics are different. Right. So when we are pushing an agenda, we should not be sitting here and be laughing that China has granted a zero tariff. You must ask yourself, on what? What do we send? They are coming to buy our gold. Is a gold that how many Ghanaians take gold in their pocket? Can you take your gold in your pocket and go to China and say there's zero tariff? No. Virtually there's nothing on it. What they're supposed to do is they should look at the business that we do with them. The Ghanaian spare parts now, they don't go anymore to Germany. They don't go anywhere. It's China that they're importing all their engines and their spare parts. So if they are bringing it, that make life easier for them to travel. Instead of increasing visa fees and collecting and refusing them, that would have been even more or less.
I believe this is one of the low-hanging fruits identified in the interim when it comes to relations between Ghana and China, or China and Ghana.
It should have been the first discussion.
Because they also talked about industrialization. They talked about the need to manufacture goods and products here in the country so that we can be able to fairly trade. So I think that there will be the need for capacity building also, so that we will be in the position, or Ghanaians will be in the position to equally deliver, on whichever agreements they have. I think that's what it's
don't forget that Chinese is about their biggest interest.
We should be about our interest as well.
Yes, Chinese
is not a crime.
Chinese is about their biggest interest. So when you're dealing with the Chinese, they are very nice people. They are very serious. They don't joke.
Shouldn't that be the case for
That should be the case. That's what I mean. Right. So
we are not blaming them.
No, we shouldn't blame. Yeah, for them, of course.
Right?
Why not? Because they've come in. They came from a long way. They've gone through a certain regiment of lifestyle, difficulties, hardship, more than this, harder and harsher conditions, bringing them to where they are today.
So we are not blaming them for
no. They are very aggressive. No. They are very aggressive. If you allow them to come, they will eat your snakes. If you allow them to come, they will eat your frogs. If you allow them to come, they will settle and make sure that what you do not want to make use of it, they will make good use of it, and they will make money out of your country and go back. For them, they don't joke. So if we want to really have to establish, as we are saying, bilateral relations, a good a business, and then technological exchange, etc. Yes, for me, I have my reservation, but then Chinese interest is always is the highest stake. In any negotiations that they go into. So
Ghana also has to ensure that they have what it takes to negotiate on, their interest.
You should negotiate on something that will affect them sensitively, not affect them per se. That will make them also wake up. That, okay, how many Chinese indigenes are in Ghana here across almost, we have more than 35 to 37,000 immigration records officially living here.
Quite a number.
Quite a number. How many of them even go out there to renew and extend their visas when it is expired? But go out there in China and see. Now, even their visas has a chip. When your visa expires in China, you will be at the supermarket. By the time you step out, immigration, they will locate you through your visa.
We are working at getting there. The rest of the world is working hard at getting there.
Yeah, so we have
the chip embedded passports.
Yes, of course. So we have to also get our portion of it properly, not just to jubilate.
Our acts rights.
Yeah, we should not jubilate of the zero tariffs. Right. Now, for me, it is one of the political talks.
I don't know if you also side with him that it is a political talk, but I am very positive that something meaningful would come out
of course, we expect them. Why not?
New initiative. Anyways, now we are moving on. Now I think I am done covering this is the two major issues tabled for this Saturday show, and of course it's been very great having Farouk Al-Wahab joining us in the studio. Thank you so much. It is always a pleasure. Very insightful, thought-provoking, mind-boggling.
Controversial.
Well, not controversy. I think it's just the fact that you take your time to, give us digest, and then also take us back to history and then bring us into the present. And I think that helps. Everyone is able to get the education needed. So at least wherever you find yourself, you are able to, make your own opinion, right? Then that's the most important thing. Farouk Al-Wahab, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome back. This week on EU in the Spotlight, we are talking about football or soccer. Now, the African continent abounds in talents who are groomed to explore opportunities globally. Football is one of the avenues that not only bring people but generate income for countries and, of course, industry players. Sports diplomacy has become an avenue countries are leveraging on to strengthen ties. Now, through a 3-year partnership that will go beyond the pitch, focusing on education, jobs, equality, and sports, the EU and CAF are joining forces to support African programs and boost skills for a better future. This partnership is expected to help young talented Africans unleash their talent and live their dreams. Here's a teaser of what to expect from EU and CAF partnership.
This continent breathes football. Dreams rise from every pitch. Talent is everywhere. With strong collaborations, it becomes unstoppable. The European Union and CAF partners in change to develop talents, to build futures, to unite continents. Africa and Europe, uniting for a better future. Together, we invest. Together, we grow. Together, we rise. EU and CAF, united by football, powered by purpose.
So the coming days will see us focus more and speak to a few people, stakeholders who are actually pushing for this initiative. That is the European Union and some officials from CAF to give us more details about this event. So we will be keeping our eyes on what unfolds in the coming days. All too soon, this is where time will permit us to bring you another insightful, educative and informative edition of the only show that brings you happenings in the world of diplomacy and international relations, diplomatic affairs. My name is Harriet Nate. It is always a pleasure to have you join us. Enjoy the rest of our programs. Have a nice weekend.
It's also a little bit of a cliche. I mean, we're all used to the